Hail Baruch Levi B here from the Defiant Spirit. I am talking today about Enneagram 9. This is the last in our series of How Do You Know? Sort of a quick discovery tools. You don't need to pay for one. You don't need to do one of those online cheapies. But the bottom line is you can discover your number. It's all within you. And the Enneagram is 9 basic energy types. You have them all within you, but one is going to be dominant. So we're talking about Enneagram 9, the Peacemaker. Now, I apologize because I forgot to do the 9, and somebody emailed me and said, I don't want to bother you, B, but I think you might have forgotten the 9 or I missed it. And I could feel their hesitancy, which is quite telling, and told me that they're an Enneagram 9. Enneagram 9s are peaceful. They have just a nice vibe. My daughter, one of my daughters is a 9. My sister's a 9. 20-30% of my clients are 9s. 9s just go with the flow. They're the easy Enneagram type. They've been told their whole life they're easy, which on the one hand sounds quite lovely and like a compliment. I think if you were to ask most people what they want to come back like in the next life, they're going to say Enneagram 9, the Peacemaker, or Enneagram 7, the Enthusiast. Enthusiasts have a good time, and 9s go with the flow. However, there is a downside with that, and that is that they're easy, that they go with the flow, because life is not always easy. Conflict is around us 24/7, and 9s tend to steer clear of conflict, steer clear of difficult people or situations, and that's saying it mildly, because oftentimes they'll run for the hills when it comes to facing conflict or the thought of facing conflict. 9s don't like conflict. They don't do conflict. And one of the things that will happen if you're a 9 is that you will end up hiding who you are, subjugating your voice, pushing your needs down to the point where if you do that for long enough, you start forgetting who you are. You don't know what you need. You start orienting yourself to the world by your circumstances, by the people around you, but not by your own internal guidance system. And that can be quite difficult, if not dangerous, for an Enneagram 9. Look, Enneagram 9s, it comes from a good place. They want to sort of be like water, flowing down the hill, keep moving, flowing around the difficult obstructions in their path. But sometimes you just got to forge ahead. You got to push on through. And so the work of a 9 is to understand that true peace, lasting harmony only can come from a place of authenticity, of truth. And so 9s have to get back to themselves, have to get back to their needs, to figure out what they are, to listen to their internal guidance system, their moral compass, and not change lanes for anyone, and not change directions because the going gets tough. Now, 9s are sometimes described by the weird word sloth. That's their sort of their Achilles heel, if you will. Sloth, going into being lethargic, sometimes said lazy. Absolutely not true. This is taken out of context. 9s are absolutely busy workers, hard workers, active. However, when they come up against those obstacles that I'm talking about, that's when they start to shut down. That's when they go into lethargy, into sloth-like mode around that one thing. So they may have 10 things on their list, 9 of which they plow through, and then that 10th one gets put off to the side. And that's the call they don't want to make. That's the one chore that they were supposed to do today that they actually dreaded doing. And so that gets forgotten in the process. So if you're a 9, you need to put that one thing first. You need to put the difficult things front and center and attack them. I know it's easier said than done, but that's the work for a 9. The other 9 things I know you'll get to. You know you'll get to. It's not about that. It's about facing conflict head on. If you're an Enneagram 9, as Viktor Frankl said, make your defiant stand. Pick your area, pick your values, pick your passion, and stick to it at all costs. Learn how to say no. Not yes, I'll do it, when in your heart it's no. To listen to your heart and to speak the truth and make sure you're saying, not saying this, but saying this, right? Because nines will sometimes say this and inside they're saying this. Don't trust when a nine is saying yes, because oftentimes that's a way to avoid conflict. Nines learn how to say no, learn how to speak your truth, learn how to stand your ground, learn how to get your needs met. And that is how you create true and lasting peace. You know you're an Enneagram 9 if I talked about conflict and you started to hyperventilate. If everything I've described, you're saying yes. It's one of those types. You know it when you see it. I know it when I'm with a 9, and nines, you tend to know that you are a 9. Now, you might get confused sometimes with the 6, the loyalist, because there's a line to 9 to 6 that gets confusing for you. Maybe a 5 sometimes, so more withdrawn types, but usually, and maybe a 2, the helper. I think that's probably the biggest one. 9s and 2s can get confused. But remember, the Enneagram is all about why you do what you do. 2s are helping other people because they need to be needed. They need to be in relationship. That is not a 9. Now, 9s, of course, like relationship like everybody else, but it's not a primal need. What they need to do is be away from conflict and in comfort. And so when a 9 is in that space, they may look like a 2, but it's coming from a place of avoiding conflict. 2s are coming from a place of avoiding neglecting relationships. 6s are coming from a place of not wanting to be insecure, unsafe, abandoned. 5 are coming from a place more of the mind and thinking. And so when you start getting into the core motivation of each type, it becomes much clearer. 9s, the number one thing that you want to avoid in your life is conflict. And the number one thing you need to do is to take conflict head on, to transform it as a pathway to true and lasting peace. That is my final video on how you know if you're an Enneagram 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you missed the previous 8, jump over to defiantspirit.org where you can get all of them and much more. I would love to hear from you. Until the next time, defy your number, live your spirit.